Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. The current long range meta here in Warzone Season 4 kind of goes crazy. We've got a ton of different options, whether you're looking for full auto, low recoil, high damage snipers. There's a lot to go through when it comes to the general long range meta, and today I wanted to break down the absolute best weapons for this sort of niche playstyle, and of course the best loadouts for them. So diving right in, we're starting with one of my favorite weapons in the game, the SWAT 556, but it's really the Grau 556 because we've got the conversion kit on here. Plays just like the original Grau back in Warzone 1. Low recoil, high velocity, competitive TTK. It feels fantastic. It's also got those pretty clean irons on there as well. So like I said, most important part of this setup is this Grau 556 conversion kit for the SWAT 556. Completely reworks how the weapon plays and how the weapon feels. I've got the infiltrator stock on here to help out with some strafe speed. I just like the feel of this when I'm ADS. I can sort of move a little bit more aggressively, and at times it can throw off enemies because they're not expecting you to move as fast as you are, maybe over longer range gunfights like that. You only get one extended mag option here because of the conversion kit. It's the full auto extended mag. It's a 50 rounder. That'll work. It's not a 60 rounder. There's definitely a difference in those 10 bullets that you'll notice for sure, but the DPM is still going to be solid, so it's not a huge concern there. Vertical foregrip helps out the most with horizontal control, making this pattern almost straight vertical, so it's going to be super easy to predict and control even over some pretty extreme distances. Then lastly here, I do go for the monolithic suppressor, extending out our velocity in our range, also keeping us off the radar, of course. We end up with a 1277 velocity, a 47.5 meter effective damage range. This thing is competitive. It's going to feel strong. It's going to hit. Like I said, it's one of my favorite options in the game. Now, as mentioned, the sniper meta is dominant right now. There's a strong sniper meta and a lot of variety in this depending on what you're looking for. The LR762, a very competitive option. It's not an infinite one-shot headshot, but it's a pretty generous one for sure. So a lot of realistic fights you're going to be taking, you'll have the chance to get that one-shot headshot knock on here. So first up, we're going for the monolithic suppressor. The extended range and velocity on this is very important, as is the extended range on the long barrel as well. We end up with a 94 meter effective one-shot headshot, so that's gonna be pretty solid. A 1269 velocity as well is great for bullet drop and bullet lead. We do also have overpressured ammo stacked on there as well. Quick draw rear grip's gonna help out that ADS speed, and also fast mag 2 is as well. So we end up with the 566 ADS. That's not too bad, all things considered, for this being a heavy sniper. Falls right in line with some of the other heavier sniper options as well. So it's a pretty standard sniper setup, but it also gets the job done. And while we're at it, the Frostline is in the conversation here too, and it's basically a one-for-one copy and paste setup here. Monolithic suppressor and long barrel, better velocity, better damage range out of this as well. We end up with an 80 meter one-shot headshot here, so not quite as far, but it's also a tad bit more aggressive. We do still have a 1214 velocity on there too, which is pretty solid with overpressured ammo on there. Quick draw riser, then fast mag 1 in this case is the only option, but for that faster ADS, we're at a 515 milliseconds, so a little bit faster ADS, a little bit more snappy and aggressive, but also a slightly worse one-shot headshot range. But 80 meters is still very, very good, don't get me wrong there. So either or here, depending on your preference and your feel, is going to be a solid choice. Now obviously the HDR is the king of long range sniping. Infinite one-shot headshot, fantastic velocity. This thing's doing everything at the highest level possible right now, basically. Yet again, I'm rocking monolithic suppressor for the better velocity here. The range doesn't matter because it's an infinite one-shot headshot, so I do go for gain twist barrel in this case, straight up better velocity. Overpressured ammo as well. We end up with a 1207 velocity. That's fantastic for bullet drop and bullet lead. Pretty close there to the Frostline into the LR762. Quick draw rear grip on here for the faster ADS. We're at a 585, so it's a little bit slower than those other two options, but also that one-shot headshot range is a great trade-off for a few extra milliseconds on your ADS speed. And then I really like lightweight bipod on here too. Helps out the idle sway, makes it so this weapon's a lot more steady even when you're not holding your breath, which just makes it a lot easier to line up shots on enemies and get those easy one-shot knocks and cleanups there, and move on to the next squad, which you're going to dominate as well. And we do have a new option in the sniper meta with the AMR mod 4. This thing got a drastic one-shot headshot buff to its max damage range with the season 4 update, and while it's a little bit more clunky than some of those other options, this thing can absolutely dominate as well if you know the bullet drop and bullet lead, and you can consistently get those headshots on there, right? So with monolithic suppressor on here for the better velocity and damage range, we're sitting pretty. Long barrel on here for the better damage range as well. A 150 meter one-shot headshot range there with those on there, which is phenomenal. We do have a 1076 velocity, which is pretty good there because we are also rocking overpressured on this gun as well. We got the quick draw rear grip for the faster ADS, but a 616 millisecond ADS in this case, so definitely slower than those other options, but a pretty generous one-shot headshot range at the same time. I also go for the lightweight pad here, same deal as the HDR, just helps out that idle sway. It makes this thing a little bit easier to use. So across the board, we've got some very, very good sniper options in the long range meta. And by the way, as we are going through all the weapons and setups here today, if you guys enjoy the video, a like rating is always seriously appreciated. Much love to everyone who takes the time to do so. And if you're new to the channel, you want to make sure that every single day you're in the know for all things going on in COD, whether it's meta breakdowns like this, the latest news and updates, I got you covered here. So feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications, and help get us one step closer to hitting 1 million subs. Next up, jumping back to some rifle talk here, we got the GPR, low recoil, competitive TTK, good velocity, good damage range, doing everything efficiently here. It's one of my favorite easy to use guns in the game. In this case, I'm going for the Willis 3x optic. I like the Jason Armory 2x, the Oturo red dot, the Volsky reflex. It's a matter of preference for your optics at the end of the day. Monolithic suppressor for the better range and velocity, reinforced barrel for more of the same. 1209 velocity, 43 meter effective damage range, going to be really consistent there for any mid to long range engagement. Vertical foregrip gives you that max horizontal control again, so this thing will be very predictable. And then extended 2 is going to be a 60 rounder. That's going to work fine for all squad sizes. Pretty basic rifle setup, but it gets the job done. The Krig is an obvious choice here, maybe the best long range gun in the entire game right now. Fantastic TTK, much easier to use than it was prior to, I think, season 3 Reloaded is where it got buffed. The thing feels good now, it hits like a truck. Definitely one of the more reliable choices in the game. Again, a pretty standard setup. This time I'm rocking Oturo red dot in this case, just to mix things up, of course. Monolithic suppressor and reinforced barrel stacked together, so we got a 1252 velocity, 58 meter effective damage range is real nice there. Vertical foregrip for that max control, and then extended 2 is actually a 70 rounder in this case, which is pretty unique to the Krig, but even better as well, makes that damage per mag go through the roof, so that's really, really cool to see. An obvious choice, but one that is just so good. I also really love the Cypher. Again, it's a pretty low recoil option. It's got a competitive TTK, and it's incredibly aggressive at the same time. Very versatile rifle. Obviously, we're focused on the long range, but if you have this thing up in the mid range, maybe even some close range, it can hold its own there, surprisingly enough. Again, a pretty basic setup. This time I'm rocking the Volsky reflex. Why not change things up here and there? Monolithic suppressor and reinforced barrel stacked together. 1238 velocity is really good, and then a 52 meter effective damage range, so no concerns there. Ranger foregrip in this case, this is a pretty easy recoil weapon, so I do like the sprinting movement speed I gain back by using Ranger as opposed to vertical, but if you just want to go all in on recoil control, yeah, rock vertical. That's going to be fine there for sure. Then extended 2 in this case is a 60 rounder, so kind of a copy and paste setup here, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Next up, we've got the AMAX. I did nerf the recoil with this thing a little bit, so that's going to take some getting used to if you haven't used it much this season, but this thing still hits like a truck. I'm actually using a gunfighter loadout in this case just because I feel like this is a gun that thrives from being able to go all in on 8 attachments. I'm rocking the Dobrik 4x, really reminiscent of the VOK 3x from Warzone 1 there. Monolithic suppressor, reinforced barrel. We end up with a 1290 velocity, a 64 meter effective damage range. This thing's TTK is pretty wild compared to these other options here at that range. Vertical foregrip for that max horizontal control. Extended 2 is going to be a 60 with this rate of fire. No concerns there for any squad size. I do go for quick draw rear grip with my extra attachments here. Faster ADS just makes it a little bit more aggressive. Infiltrator stock for that better strafe, just like on the Grau. Can kind of throw players off when you have that extra speed while ADSing. And then recoil spring, stacking this with vertical grip really helps out a ton with making this weapon a lot more predictable, especially after the recoil nerf can really make this thing more reliable when you're fighting 50, 60, 70, 80 plus meters, right? So takes a little bit more getting used to than some of these other choices, but still really good if you know what you're doing. The DM10 is another option that I feel like really thrives with gunfighter on here with 8 attachments. By far the highest skill gap gun on the list here today. It's semi-auto. You have to hit your shots and you have to spam fast for this to be a true meta contender, but it's not too difficult to do so. The rate of fire on this thing's not too crazy fast, and if you have a good trigger finger, you're probably going to cap out even with rapid fire. And if you know the recoil pattern and you can stay on target, this thing is going to melt. It's one of the fastest killing options in the entire game. Oturo red dot, my personal preference here. Monolithic, reinforced on here. 1380 velocity, so really high up there. 64 meter effective damage range here as well. Precision handguard's going to help out with some idle sway, which is solid for a semi-auto gun, and some horizontal recoil as you're spamming, so that's pretty clutch. Extended 2 is only a 30, but with semi-auto, you're not going to necessarily burn through that, especially with this rate of fire. Quick draw rear grip for that faster ADS. The unique buffer weight stock here helping out a ton with control. As you're spamming, you're going to be much more accurate with this on there, so that's pretty huge. And then, like I said, rapid fire, it only hurts your control, which is not a huge deal when we can gain that back by using other attachments, and gives you the chance to have a faster TTK than the base gun because that fire rate is increased a little bit. So definitely a high skill gap gun, but also so rewarding. And then lastly, here we've got the Kilo, just another super straightforward gun. This does not have an insane TTK compared to some of these other choices, but it's also one of the easiest to use in the game. And that's saying something because its recoil was also slightly nerfed with season 4, but this thing is very easy to learn. It's going to feel really good over long range as well in terms of its like bullet reg, its consistency there. You can definitely help it out as well if you want to in certain cases. Otero red dot for me, monolithic suppressor, very straightforward. I like reinforced barrel because I feel like 1305 velocity is already kind of overkill as is. That's going to work fine. Almost a 49 meter effective damage range is good too. I think gain twist in this case though, getting up over a 1500 velocity just makes this thing hit differently compared to some of these other choices. So that's, I think, an option you could rock here too if you wanted. Vertical foregrip sort of helps balance this thing out after the recoil nerf a little bit. And then extended 2 here, going to be a 60. Extended 3 is kind of overkill in my opinion. 80 is just a little bit too much and it slows you down a little bit too much for my liking. So extended 2 is going to work just fine. But yeah, this alongside all of the other options that we focused on here today, they're all competitive. The long range meta has a lot of options. Unfortunately, it is predominantly Black Ops 6 guns, not much variety there dating back to MW2 or MW3. But if you're looking for guns that hit well over long range, look no further than this list here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you found it helpful, if you did enjoy it, a like rating seriously appreciated. And if you're new here, feel free to hit that subscribe button on your way out. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.